Hello, and welcome to BattleTech Faction Briefings. We continue our journey through the Periphery with Abel's Aces. However, like the discussion of the Black Warriors, I will also cover a Periphery nation, as Abel's Aces are closely tied with the Rim collection. Sadly, there is limited information on Abel's Aces, despite the fact that they star in a novel. They have a strong battle record, but might be overlooked even by fans of the Periphery. The story of the Aces is a story of war, politics, and betrayal, the kind of story that makes the lore of BattleTech so interesting. Abel's Aces has a simple unit insignia with 4 ace playing cards, but after serving with the Rim collection, they added the stars to the insignia to represent the various planets of the collection. Abel's Aces have a terrain-themed camo coloring with black and white trim to match their playing card motif. It can make for some interesting designs. Also, it has been noted that they don't change the paint scheme very often, which means they might not have the appropriate camo scheme for their current operation. This might be due to not having access to the necessary paints, or the fact that the Aces tended to be spread thin, so they didn't have time to paint up prior to a new deployment. Despite being a smaller mercenary unit, Abel's Aces are featured in the novel by Blood Betrayed. Therefore, if you want to avoid spoilers for that book, then skip to the time listed. Abel's Aces came together prior to the War of 39. They served with the Federated Commonwealth for 7 years. During that time, they were given only minor contracts or served as a support force without independent command. Things went sour when they were commanded to take part in a battle they couldn't possibly win in order to allow a FedCom regiment to position themselves to ambush the enemy. Their contract dispute with the Federated Commonwealth led the Aces to leave and look for better employment. However, their options were limited, as the Draconis Combine would have nothing to do with them, and the Aces had no interest in working for the Free Worlds League or Capellan Confederation. This left Abel's Aces with one option: the Periphery. Meanwhile, during the 3030s, unification movements began in the Periphery. During that time, Professor James Moroney was able to lead a unification cause by the early 3040s. After a pirate attack in 3046, the idea of united defense pushed things forward. Abel's Aces arrived in 47 on a supply run, but upon running into James Moroney, they stayed and helped push the idea of unification. In 3048, the Rim collection was born, and Abel's Aces had a new contract. As part of their contract, the Abel family was given a major landhold on Otisburg, which became their initial base. Many members of the unit came from Periphery border worlds, while the Abel family was actually from Otisburg. This made the transition much easier for the unit. In the early days of the contract, the Abel family covered the bill until the Rim collection could afford to pay for their services. At that time, the Aces were only about a battalion of troops, which was not enough to defend the whole of the Rim collection. Building up the collection military was very important to ensure all worlds could be protected. Thus, the contract was to train the Rim military until the Rim collection would be self-sufficient in terms of military defense. As time passed, the Aces slowly evolved into the main military force of the Rim collection. Abel's Aces remained a small unit, but was growing towards regimental size, which still made them stretched thin when trying to protect the 6 worlds of the Rim collection. There were governmental efforts to hire more mercenaries for defense, but Jerry Abel pushed back against the idea to avoid having outsiders have any say in military matters. However, it is more likely the Aces didn't want to share their pay or materiel. In the 3050s, the work of Abel's Aces started to pay off. The Rim collection military was made up of 2 battalions, and each of the 6 planets had their own local militia forces, mostly made up of infantry and a few mechanized units. By 3053, the Rim collection had developed trading routes with its neighbors, especially the Federated Commonwealth. The planets of the Rim collection were efficient at mining and farming, thus they had a good amount of product to export. The Aces were primarily stationed on Gifilion's Gold and Aldawn in 3058. More importantly, Abel's Aces built up into a regiment-sized force, and in early 39, Jerry Abel took over as the commander. However, he chose to remain a major instead of taking the proper rank of colonel. The Aces faced their greatest challenge in 3059, as an intelligence officer was paid off by Morrison's extractors. This led to an ambush on Caldarium, where a company of Aces were wiped out. This led Jerry Abel to form a plan to find the traitor. The plan was to leave the Rim Collection to rebuild the unit. Therefore, Gifilion's Gold would be unprotected until new mercenaries could be hired. However, it was a feint, and they took out nearly a battalion of extractors on Gifilion's Gold. They followed up this attack with an assault on the extractor-controlled planet of the Rack. These attacks destroyed nearly a regiment's worth of pirates. Not only that, but the salvage they took in helped bolster their forces as well as the military of the Rim Collection. The 3060s began badly for the Rim Collection. Arguments over economic policy and how much power the president should have led to the assassination of President Moroni via a car bomb in 3060. The bombing killed several innocents as well as the president and led to a major investigation. William Roberts was elected president and quickly learned that several members of the Collection Council stood in the way of the investigation. This pushed Roberts into enacting martial law with the support of Abel's Aces and business owners. During this time, he tried to clean up the government, and 3 months after martial law ended, new elections were held. Roberts was re-elected in 3061, but those behind President Moroni's death were never found. Not only that, but the 1st Collection Armored Battalion took heavy losses on Waypoint in a counterattack by Morrison's extractors. Things turned around in 3062 when the Aces finished their war with Morrison's extractors, driving them out of the Rim Collection, which brought peace to the Rim Collection for a time. As the Marian hegemony started their war against their neighbors, the Circinus Federation asked for assistance from the Rim Collection. President Roberts refused to help the pirate nation, which helped keep the collection out of the hegemony's warpath. Around that time, Jerry Abel took the title of colonel and worked with the Collection Council. He became a key military advisor in keeping the Rim Collection safe. By 3067, the Aces were back to a reinforced battalion, but with 15% Star League-era tech due to their victories against Morrison's extractors. President Roberts also took steps to assist in immigration as people fled the Marian hegemony's campaign across the Periphery, as well as people leaving during the FedCom Civil War. President Roberts set things up for refugees to arrive even during the Blakist War, long after he had ceased being president. The arrival of more people did not go over well with the population of the Rim Collection. There were many fights and political disputes from the locals. It took time, but eventually integration helped end the problems. One of the major things that Jerry Abel stood against was letting other mercenaries and the Word of Blake station themselves in the Rim Collection. As the military of the Rim Collection continued to grow, the Aces remained serving the Collection as a key member of the Collection military. By the end of the Jihad era, Abel's Aces were still at full strength due to not dealing with the Word of Blake. In addition to that, trade relations with the Lyrans led the Lyran kroner to be the main currency of the Rim Collection. In 3079, the Rim Collection started being raided by pirates again. This allowed the militia to show off their skills taking down minor pirate factions. However, the Aces were still the core military unit, and hunted down many pirates as well. The need for more weapons led to a new mech manufacturing plant being built on Otisburg in 3081. However, the units were based on older tech, which kept the collection from becoming a major military power. By 3085, the Rim military forces had grown so much that the collection remained unchallenged for years. During that time, Abel's Aces were sent to garrison the planet of Hunter's Paradise in order to bring it into the Rim Collection. Hunter's Paradise would join the collection in 99. The planet was a very dangerous place due to the sheer amount of large predators roaming the planet. However, it was also a major tourist location for big game hunters. The planet was a bit of a money sink until 3128, when modified industrial mechs were used to protect tourists and locals, making for safer and more profitable hunting trips. In 3135, a system near Hunter's Paradise was claimed by the Rim Collection and named Abel's Glory, after Frank Abel, the colonel of the Aces at the time. It was used as a service station for jump ships, but the costs of setting up Hunter's Paradise and Abel's Glory caused two systems to leave the Rim Collection, Caldarium and Siluus, who would remain independent for years to come. Once things were up and running, the two new worlds started having major trade relations with the Lyran Commonwealth. Not long after that, Abel's Aces started Abel's Hunting Arms Limited. The company produced hunting rifles, military-grade rifles, as well as machine guns and autocannons for mechs. The main clients for Abel's hunting arms were the hunters visiting Hunter's Paradise and the Rim Collection's one battle mech manufacturing plant, Rim Motors, on Otisburg, likely owned or influenced by the Abel family. As the Dark Age progressed, the Aces were sent to Wilshire in order to recover a Ward of Blake weapons cache. However, the local militia drove them off, which likely was due to the locals using the Ward of Blake tech. Finally, in 3145, the soldiers and equipment of Abel's Aces were officially integrated into the Rim Collection military. This marks the end of Abel's Aces as an independent unit. As things started to fall apart in the Lyran Commonwealth, Timbuktu and 4 other systems left to form their own nation. The Rim Collection decided to merge with them to create the Timbuktu Collective. While Archon Trillian Steiner wanted to take that territory back, the Commonwealth did not have the resources to retake their lost worlds, while also dealing with other threats to the dwindling Lyran Commonwealth. However, the growth in troops and resources allowed the Timbuktu Collective to take advantage of the weaknesses of the weak Commonwealth. Thus, they started taking other planets to expand their territory. They took Pokolagon and Viborg in 3150, and Sapenza, Firenze, and Kladnitsa in 51. The military of the Timbuktu Collective is made up of the Florida Timbuktu Militia with the Rim Collection military to make a full battle mech regiment. Then, with salvage and recruitment, they were able to make a second force that was only up to battalion strength. Thus, even if Abel's Aces no longer exist as a unit, they are still alive in spirit with the collective armed guards. The history of the Rim Collection isn't very exciting, but their combining with the Timbuktu region worlds might lead to some interesting stories as the Lyran Commonwealth still seeks to get their lost worlds back. However, that story has not been told yet. As for Abel's Aces, they are gone, but they do have a nice legacy with a novel and living on as part of the collective armed guards. It will be interesting to see what fate befalls the Timbuktu Collective. Being involved in several wars has given Abel's Aces a handful of notable warriors. Parker Abel, the founder of the unit, who grew up in the Periphery and was the one to make the choice to leave the Inner Sphere for better opportunities. His personal battle mech is unknown. Jerry Abel, the second leader of the Aces, who was both a soldier and a politician. He helped set up the contract with the Rim Collection and played a big role politically in later years. He pilots a Banshee. Livia Hawk, commander of the first company who was ambushed by Morrison's extractors. She survived and later led the forces in the hunt for the pirates. She pilots a Quick Draw. Frank Abel. He took over for Jerry in 3085. He was an ambitious leader who helped create Abel's hunting arms and grew the political importance of the Abel family. His battle mech is also unknown. Mitchell Abel. He was in command by 3145 and is notable for having 2 votes on the Collection Council as leader of the Aces and leader of the military. He continues to serve with the collective armed guards in the Ill Clan era. His preferred battle mech is unknown. The Aces have always been a smaller unit and have used combined arms tactics to make up for their lack of size. This ties into their main tactic of quick strike attacks with light armor and infantry units, then moving in to finish the fight with medium and heavy mechs. They are also very skilled in city fighting. However, the Aces prefer not to fight in cities or put civilians in danger. A key thing to remember is that most of their mechs come from pirates, and in the 60s they took many of Morrison's Extractor's Star League era mechs. However, as they moved into the Dark Age, the technology of the Rim collection couldn't keep up with modern standards. Abel's Aces have one novel to their name, By Blood Betrayed. They show up in a few source books, but there is limited information in most cases. Finally, information on the establishment of the Timbuktu Collective can be found in a couple of source books as well. I'll be honest, I only did this briefing because I read the novel. Abel's Aces are a bit of a mess, and not very exciting as a unit. First of all, Parker Abel is noted in name only, and seems to do just about nothing of note. It seems like he was the original leader, but there is no clear information. More than that, Parker and Jerry might actually be the same person, and the alternate name is just a mistake. I chose to give him a backstory because it appears that neither FASA nor Catalyst cared enough to do so. Secondly, the dates of the campaign against Morrison's Extractors differ between various source books, saying it ended in either 3060 and others saying it ended in 3062. Finally, the end of the unit is vague and doesn't really tie in clearly with the established military of the Timbuktu Collective. This kind of frustration can make writing a history a bit more difficult than usual. I did what I could to make the random notes about this unit make sense. I doubt many mech commanders will want to make a unit of Abel's Aces, but the history of the Rim collection is important to the overall history of the Periphery. Since it is likely that Catalyst forgot this unit ever existed, I don't think they'll ever do a Force pack. That being said, I could see a Rim collection or Timbuktu Collective pack, and here are my suggestions, including cards for Jerry Abel, Mitchell Abel, and Livia Hawk. Thank you for watching. I think this will end my time in the Periphery. For now, at least. If you have a Periphery unit you'd like me to discuss, let me know in the comments, and I'll get to it when I can. Next time, I'll be looking at an Inner Sphere unit. To all the new subscribers, thank you for joining. May your weapons stay hot, and your reactors stay cool. Until next time, I'll see you at the tavern.